Today we're going to look at different ways of entering data into your worksheet. We will also look at some basic formatting techniques. To start, make a decision on where you would like your data to display and simply click on that cell. Today we're going to start in cell B2. B is the column heading and 2 is the row name. For this exercise, we are going to enter in the calendar months. Now we've already selected cell B2, and all we need to do is simply type on our keyboard and data will be entered in the cell. Once we have finished typing a word, we can either hit enter, which will take us to the cell below the current cell, or we can hit tab to take us to the cell to the right of the current cell. If we ever want to go backwards, you can also hold down the Shift key and then also hit Tab. It's basically telling the system to do a backwards tab entry. Now I'm going to hit Tab again to get to the next cell. And I am going to type in the word February and Tab. Now you have a couple of options here. The most standard option, of course, would be to type in every month of the year manually, going across the same row, row 2, or you can use Excel's internal calculations to enter in the names of the months for you. Now, because we already have the first and second month, let's highlight from cells B to C. Now move your cursor and hover over the edge of the second cell until you get a plus sign that looks like this. Not the one that has the arrows, but the one that has a simple black plus sign. Now click and hold on this section and drag your cursor across the same row until you have every month that you would like to enter. We've now populated row 2 with all of the months of the year. Another way to enter data is to double click on a cell. So if I go to cell B3, I can double click here and you can see the cursor flashing in that cell. Now, very similarly to how Excel calculated all the months of the year, it can also do the same thing when it comes to numbers. If I enter 2, I can do the same thing but going down the column instead of across a row. So I'm highlighting number 1 and number 2, which is cells B3 and B4. I hover over the corner, the simple black cross with no arrows, click on this and drag it down until you get to the number that you would like to stop at. And voila, we have numbers 1 through 10. Say you wanted to count by 2s. 2, 4, enter. Now we highlight these 2 cells that have the 2 and the 4. This tells Excel how far apart each number should be. Hover until you get the simple plus symbol. Click, hold, and drag it down. And now we have an entire section of counting by 2s. Say that you wanted these numbers to be represented as money or currency. If you highlight these numbers, go up to your ribbon under the Home tab, where it says Number, click on the $sign. And now the numbers that are in column B have turned into dollars. Now, if you wanted to do a percentage, and click on the percentage style icon, which is right beside the currency. Now, say we have a number like this. And you look at this number and you think, there's too many decimal places, I really only need to show 2. If you hover over this icon here, decrease the decimal, every time you click on it, it will remove a decimal place and automatically round up. To add one, click on this icon, which increases the decimal places. Let's play around with the font options. If you want to select just the months to change the font or size on, you can simply click, drag, and hold on to the cursor until all are highlighted. However, you can also click on the number 2, which will highlight the entire row. And just remember, anything else that you type around the current data, it too will take on the same formatting. To change the font, simply go to the Home tab in your ribbon, find the Font section, and use this drop-down arrow to pick which font you would prefer. Now keep in mind that if this is for business or a workplace, they may not want you picking a funky font. Something like this one, or this one, or this one would be good. However, this is just an example, and I'm going to have some fun with it. I'm going to select the Algerian font. Now, to change the size, you have two options. You can click and type in the size that you would like, or you can use this drop-down arrow, just like we did with the font selection, and select the size of font that you would prefer. For this example, we are going to select 14. Now, what if we wanted to change the font color? This is where you change the color of the font. I am going to drag over some colors and see what looks the best. Now you could also change this font to bold or italics, or you can even underline them. I liked the Algerian font without the underline and without the italic, but I will leave it bold. Now, in case you didn't notice, a lot of these names are kind of, squished into the corner here. You can't really see them very well. Let's go over how to change the column width. Now you have, again, a couple of different options. To adjust the column B width, hover over the line that goes between the B and the C until you get a black plus sign that has two arrows on either side. If you click on this, it will show you the actual width that it is currently. Now you can drag this line by clicking and holding until you're happy with the size, or you can simply double click on that intersection and it will auto-correct to the right size. You can do this for a large group of columns. If you highlight all of the columns, find the intersection that comes between any two of the column headings, and double click. Keep in mind that when you've done this, the column width is going to adjust to fit each individual name. Now, as you can see, that means every column is going to be its own width. Another way to change your column width is by doing the following. Now first, I'm going to select one of the longest names. This one is quite a bit longer than some of the others. So let's see how wide this column needed to be in order to contain the word September. So if I hover over the column heading J and K in the intersection and click and hold, it tells me the width is currently 17.43. Now if I want to make all the other columns be the exact same width so it looks uniform, I just highlight all of the columns and right click. The menu comes up and you go all the way down to where it says column width. I believe it said 17.43, so let's enter 17.43. And voila! All of the column headings are now the same width. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit because it's taking up a lot more space than anticipated. Now everything looks pretty uniform. However, we may also want to consider centering the font over each of the columns. Now I'm going to highlight on row 2. You could drag and just highlight your cursor over all 12 months, but to make it easier, I am going to highlight row 2. I'm going to go up here to where it says alignment, and I'm going to select the center justification. How all of them are aligned. So we've changed the font color, the font size, the type of font. What about the background color? Let's drag and highlight just the month names. We'll go up to this little paint bucket here, which is called the fill color. Use the drop down arrow and let's hover over all these colors until we find one that looks the way we like it. I don't know about you, but I kind of like this orange accent number 2. But you can pick whichever color you'd like. This actually reminds me of a circus font. How about we add some borders? Now for this example, I'm just going to show you a simple basic border. Let's highlight from cells B2 to M12. We go back up to the Home tab. In the Font section, right above the word Font should be a border option. Now if we use the drop-down arrow, all of these are preset borders. Now when you highlight all of these cells and then select one of these border options, it will create a border around all of those highlighted cells. For today, we're going to select all borders. Now say we wanted to differentiate between the title row and the data. Let's highlight these titles one more time, go up to the borders, and use the thick bottom border. This just thickens the line that comes between the title row and the data section. So to recap, today we have learned how to type data into the worksheet, how to change the font size, the style, whether it be bold, italic, or underline. We've learned how to add a simple border, a pre-made border, how to change the background color in a cell, to change the font color, to center justify, to change numbers to currency or to a percentage, and to shift your decimal place, as well as how to adjust your column width. Thank you for joining Nerdalific today, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.